Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jayam Dashapad Paramahamsa Parivartikacharya Ashtottara Srimad Bhagavatam Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Lord Balarāma's appearance day Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, The Science of God. Chapter 15, Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. Wonder what the instructions for uncivilized human beings is. Huh? I guess we shouldn't be interested in that. Text 45. If everybody could please repeat after me. Yavan Nirkayaratam Atma Vishopakopam Datte Krishna Chunaya Nishatam Ganasim Achutabalo Dadhad Astashatruhu Swanandatushta Upashanta Idam Vijayat. What's the meter for this one? Yavan Nirkaya Ratam Atma Vishopakopam Datte Garishta Charanarchanaya Nishatam Gyanasim Achutabalo Dadat Astashatru Swananda Tushta Upashanta Idam Vijayat Yavan Nirkaya Ratam Atma Vishopakopam Datte Girishta Charanachanaya Nishatam Ganasim Achyuta Baloda Asta Shatru Swananda Tushta Upashanta Idam Vijayat Okay. Yavat, as long as. Nirkaya, this human form of body. Ratam, considered to be a chariot. Atmavasha, dependent upon one's own control. Upakopam, in which there are many other subordinate parts. Datte, one possesses. Girishta Charana, the lotus feet of the superiors, namely the spiritual master and his predecessors. Archanaya, by serving. Nishatam, sharpened. Gana Asim, the sword or weapon of knowledge. Achyutabalaha, by the transcendental strength of Krishna. Dada, holding. Asta Shatruhu, until the enemy is defeated. Sva Anandatushtaha, being fully self-satisfied by transcendental bliss. Upashantaha, the consciousness being cleansed of all material contamination. Idam, this body. Vijayat, one should give up. Translation, commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. As long as one has to accept a material body with its different parts and paraphernalia, which are not fully under one's control, one must have the lotus feet of his superiors, namely his spiritual master and the spiritual master's predecessors. By their mercy, one can sharpen the sword of knowledge, and with the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's mercy, one must then conquer the enemies mentioned above. So the enemies mentioned above is in the last verse, text 43 and 43 and 44. So I'll just read this text. In the conditioned stage, one's conceptions of life are sometimes polluted by passion and ignorance, which are exhibited by attachment, hostility, greed, lamentation, illusion, fear, madness, false prestige, insults, fault-finding, deception, envy, intolerance, passion, bewilderment, hunger, and sleep. All of these are enemies. Sometimes one's conceptions are also polluted by goodness. In this way, so text 45, in this way, the devotee should be able to merge into his own transcendental bliss, and then he may give up his body and resume his spiritual identity. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 9, the Lord says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo viditattvataha tukta deham punarjanma naitimam vidisorjana. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. This is the highest perfection of life, and the human body is meant for this purpose. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:20-17, Nir deham adyam sulabham sadurlabham plavam sukalpam guru karnadaram mayanukuyena nabasvate ratam puman bhavad dim nataret sa atmaha. The human form of body is the most valuable boat, and the spiritual master is the captain, Guru Karnadaram, to guide the boat in plying across the ocean of nescience, or ignorance. The instruction of Krishna is a favorable breeze. One must use all these facilities to cross over the ocean of nescience. Since the spiritual master is the captain, one must serve the spiritual master very sincerely, so that by his mercy one will be able to get the mercy of the Supreme Lord. A significant word here is Achyutabala. The spiritual master is certainly very merciful to his disciples, and consequently, by satisfying him, a devotee gets strength from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. One must first please the spiritual master, and then one automatically pleases Krishna and gets the strength with which to cross the ocean of nescience. If one seriously desires to return home back to Godhead, one must therefore become strong enough by pleasing the spiritual master. For thus one gets the weapon with which to conquer the enemy, and one also gets the grace of Krishna. Simply getting the weapon of jnana is insufficient. One must sharpen the weapon by serving the spiritual master and adhering to his instructions. Then the candidate will get the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In general warfare, one must take help from his chariot and horses in order to conquer his enemy. And after conquering his enemies, he may give up the chariot and its paraphernalia. Similarly, as long as one has a human body, one should fully use it to obtain the highest perfection of life, namely going back home, back to Godhead. The perfection of knowledge is certainly to become transcendentally situated, Brahmabhuta, as the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Brahmabhuta prasanatma nashochati nakangshati samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. One who is transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward all living entities. In that state, he attains pure devotional service. Simply by cultivating knowledge as the impersonalists do, one cannot get out of the clutches of Maya. One must attain the platform of Bhakti. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yash tasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tadanantaram. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is only by devotional service, and when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. One who has attained the stage of devotional service and the mercy of the Supreme Personality, the mercy of the spiritual Master Krishna, unless one has attained the stage of devotional service and the mercy of the spiritual master and Krishna, there is a possibility that one may fall down and again accept a material body. Therefore, Krishna stresses in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 9, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoviti tattvataha tvakta deham punarjanma naiti mamiti surjana. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. Arjuna. The word tattvataha, meaning in reality, is very important. Tato mam tattvato gyatva. Unless one understands Krishna in truth by the mercy of the spiritual master, one is not free to give up his material body. As it is said, Arura kritchena param padam tata padantido nadata yushma angreha. If one neglects to serve the lotus feet of Krishna, one cannot become free from the material clutches simply by knowledge. Even if one attains the stage of Brahma Padam, merging in Brahman, without bhakti, he is prone to fall down. One must be very careful in regard to the danger of falling down again into material bondage. The only insurance, how much do you have to pay for this insurance? The only insurance is to come to the stage of bhakti, from which one is sure not to fall. Then one is free from the activities of this material world. In summary, as stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one must get in touch with the bona fide spiritual master coming in the parampara of Krishna consciousness, for by his mercy and instructions one is able to get strength from Krishna. Thus one engages in devotional service and attains the ultimate goal of life, the lotus feet of Vishnu. Significant in this verse are the words Gyanasi Machuta Bala. Gyanasi, the sword of knowledge, is given by Krishna, and when one serves the Guru and Krishna in order to hold the sword of Krishna's instructions, Balarāma gives one strength. Balarāma is Nityānanda. Rajendra Nandana Ye Shachi Shuta Hoilo Se Balarāma Hoilo Nitai. This Balarāma comes with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and both of them are so merciful that in this age of Kali, one may very easily take shelter of their lotus feet. They come especially to deliver the fallen souls of this age. Papi tapi yatachila harinama udarilo. Their weapon is Sankirtan Harinam. Thus one should accept the sword of knowledge from Krishna and be strong with the mercy of Balarāma. We are therefore worshipping Krishna Balarāma in Vrindavan. In the Mundaka Upanishad 3-4 it is said, Nayam atma balahinena labdo nacha pramadat tabaso vapalingat atar upayar yatate yastu vidvangsh tasyashan atma vishate pramadama. One cannot attain the goal of life without the mercy of Balarāma. Śrī Narottama Das Ṭhākura therefore says, nitāiyera karuṇā habe, vraje, rādhā-kṛṣṇa pābe. When one receives the mercy of Balarāma, Nityānanda, one can attain the lotus feet of Rādhā and Kṛṣṇa very easily. Se sambandha nahiyar prita janma gelatar vidya kulehi karibitar. If one has no connection with Nitai, Balarāma, then even though one is a very learned scholar, jnani, or has taken birth in a very respectable family, these assets will not help him. We must therefore conquer the enemies of Krishna consciousness with the strength received from Balarāma. Oh my God, Chipadandasya Gananjana Shalakya Chakshulan Meditamyana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Makam Karidavachalam Pankam Langai Tekidim Yakipatam Maham Bande Shri Guranditaranam Vancha Kapadribhascha Kipasindabhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namanamha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So there is, you could say, superior or inferior ways to live. And Srimad Bhagavatam explains the superior way to live as a human being. And this particular chapter is instructions for civilized human beings. So I was saying earlier, what about the instructions for uncivilized human beings? And I said, I guess we shouldn't be interested in those. But practically, there's a lot of, you could say, there's a lot of information out there how to be an uncivilized human being, or how to be, like Srila Prabhu would say, a polished animal. And that's, you could say, largely, more or less, the more than less, the modern world. Whereas the Srimad Bhagavatam here, it says instructions for civilized human beings. So yeah, it's important that we, you could say, not take at all seriously the instructions for uncivilized human beings, the lessons of modern world, materialistic people, but we take the instructions of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which are instructions for civilized human beings. And here in this particular verse, it's talking about how to overcome our, you could say, like, weakness of heart, because that's something that needs to be overcome in Krishna consciousness, is weakness of heart, because one may be convinced of you could say, the superior knowledge of Krishna, or one may become convinced of the instructions for civilized human beings, but still may find it challenging to live up to them, because in the Kali Yuga, the general tendency is to follow instructions for uncivilized human beings. That's the general default mode. So people may have so there may be a hard time living up to it. So this is for weakness of heart, right? That's one of the. Now, weakness of heart doesn't mean that one is not sincere, or that one is just hopelessly sinful. It means that there's just some heavy conditioning there that needs to be overcome. And sometimes what happens is devotees just say, "Oh, I can't overcome, certain things. I can't overcome my conditioning." But by the power of Krishna consciousness, one can overcome all conditioning. What to speak of all conditioning? I mean, they could reach the platform of love for Krishna, which is beyond all of this. So we need that particular process to you could say, overcome our weakness of heart, to get the strength, because that's what is it, strength. Just like when somebody asked the other day, oh, how much, I forgot, one devotee was on the patio asking another devotee, oh, how much can you bench press? And what's the other term? There's bench press and there's deadlift. Yeah, how much can you? Yeah. Bench press, deadlift. So I could do this much, I could do this much. So that requires a certain type of strength, right? You have to have strength. I mean, if you try to, yeah, you might hurt your body or something, Have to go. So it requires a particular type of strength to lift weights. So, but everything requires a particular type of strength. I could say the strength of a mother, she has to have a particular type of strength in order to take care of her children, and to, not to speak of, sometimes you have very common these days, you have single mothers, they have to have a lot of strength because they're dealing with so many, they may have a number of children and there's no man in the picture. They have to have a lot of strength to deal with the children, right, who don't always obey. That's just one thing. So in order to do certain things, we need strength, and practically to do anything, we need strength, the different types of strength. So in Krishna consciousness, we also need strength. Like, for example, we need strength to preach, or to spread the holy names, or to distribute books, for example. There has to be a certain strength there. If a person's not strong, they can't do it. Or if a person loses their strength over time, they give up. So, and what is that strength? Well, one is you could say strength or inspiration, but one aspect, for example, when distributing books, to have that strength to go out is part of having the strength is learning how to be rejected, right? Because we want to be accepted, right? That could be a very problematic state of mind, to always want to be accepted. So book distribution teaches us how to be rejected, right? Because people say, "Oh, no, 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 no." But it takes a particular strength to deal with all those no's, and to be strong and continue, and reach the people who are meant to get the books. And actually, devotees shouldn't care about all those no's. That just means the people are hard, unripe fruit. But they should just keep on looking for the people who are interested, or who are ready. Just like I forgot if it's Hindi, maybe Bengali, but there's a saying that every grain of rice has a name on it. It's a Hindi one. Means, every grain of rice has a name on it. So similarly, you could say every book has a name on it. Some devotees would actually go out, like I remember Brigapati Prabhu used to go out. I mean, he still goes out, but he used to do this. I don't think he does it anymore, but he would talk with people, this and that, and he'd give them the book and say, "Oh, let me..." No, actually, I think he would write his name on it. Yeah, he would write his name on it. So not exactly the other person's name, but I guess if you wrote the other person's name, "What's your name? George? Okay, here it is. Here's your name, George. Here, take the book." They'd have to take it, maybe. But every book has a name, and it means we have to go find them, who the books are meant for. So that's a particular type of strength, for example. But what also, you could say, the strength to follow the regulative principles. There needs to be a certain strength there. Like maybe due to some uncivilized training or some lecha training, we may be inclined to, for example, what do you call, ease the pain of life by buying a bottle at the local liquor store, big or small. We just take a drink and, all right, I'm feeling better now. But it's a false thing. So we may have those inclinations. So therefore, we need strength. Okay, we need strength not to do that. No, that's useless. If such thoughts come into mind, okay, that's bogus. That's useless. That's. I don't want anything to do with it. We need the strength. So then the question is, okay, and there's so many examples. We go on and on and on. I mean, as this last particular verse, there's quite a list here, actually. And there's other lists, right? Fear and ignorance and illusion and madness and hostility and greed and all these things that could keep on going on. And from these particular qualities, there's activities, and it really expands a lot. Therefore, they call it Bhava Sagar. It's an ocean of material existence. Ocean of material existence also means it's expansive. there's a lot going on, a lot of mundane things going on. So it could just expands, and practically we are like saturated with these bad qualities, which just comes in this vicious cycle of bad qualities, bad activities, and then bad consciousness, everything bad. How does that sound for a... So we need the strength to get free from this bad consciousness, bad activities, bad qualities. We need to rise above the influence of Kali Yuga. So then the question is, well, how do we do that? And the answer is given in this particular purport that we need to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, authentic spiritual master, come into the cyclic succession, and get strength. Get strength from the spiritual master and the spiritual master's predecessors. And Achyutabala Ganasim, the sword of knowledge. So the sword of knowledge is good. I mean, we need it, right? We need the sword of knowledge. Knowledge, detachment. It's given by Krishna. And when one serves the Guru and Krishna, in order to hold the sword of Krishna's instructions, Balarāma gives one strength. So let's say you have the sword of knowledge, but you also need the strength to hold it. Because the sword of knowledge, you could say in this particular analogy, okay, it's cutting through ignorance, right? But what if you can't hold it? You need the strength to hold it. So therefore, and who gives this strength? So it says Balarāma gives one strength. So I remember there was, a lot of people ask me, probably, and I'm sure all the devotees have this particular experience, but when you talk with people, a lot of the times you hear the same questions, over and over and over again, and whatever that's. And sometimes you get some kind of new questions, but on the most basic level, they say, okay, what's that on your forehead, and why do you wear that color? Someone was asking me, why is this brahmachari wearing this color and that brahmachari wearing that color? Does that mean something? Anyways, so you get basic questions like that, but sometimes you get philosophical questions. But anyways, one girl, she asked me a question about why did your spiritual master give you the name Balarāma? And she said, is it because you are spiritually strong, or is it because you need spiritual strength? And you could, you know what I said, right? Because I need spiritual strength. Dasa, Balarāma Dasa, yes. So yeah, Lord Balarāma gives one strength, and Balarāma is Nityānanda. So in this particular age, Krishna and Balarāma appeared in the previous age, and now in this particular age of Kali, which the age we're in now, Krishna and Balarāma appeared as Vrajanjan Ananda Nashesha Shuta Hola Se Balarāma Hola Nitai. So Lord Chaitanya, or Krishna came as Lord Chaitanya, and Balarāma came as Lord Nityānanda. And as Jagannath Das Babaji says, one of our previous acharyas, he says that one should worship, if one's living in a kingdom, one should worship the king of that kingdom. Not forget about that. The king and which kingdom one is living in. So he said, similarly, in this age of Kali, we have to always remember that the incarnation for this age is Lord Chaitanya, and we're part of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. Sankirtan movement. Hare Krishna, Sreshwar. So if we worship Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityānanda, then Nityānanda will give us this spiritual strength. And upon getting the spiritual strength, just as they are doing, it says they descended to deliver the fallen souls with the weapon of Harinam. So similarly, the devotees of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityānanda, they engage in this particular service of trying to help the fallen, conditioned souls, which makes up, Srila Prabhupada said, 99.9% of the population. He says it in the purport of Namam Duskritana Mudha Prapadyante Narottama. And if we do that, then Narottam Das Thakur says, Nitāiyera karuṇā habe, vraje, rādhā-kṛṣṇa, pābe. One who receives the mercy of Balarāma Nityānanda, when one receives the mercy of Balarāma Nityānanda, one can attain the lotus feet of Rādhā and Kṛṣṇa very easily. So yeah, Srila Prabhupada would say that the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement is to approach Rādhā and Kṛṣṇa, which is very high, but approach Rādhā and Kṛṣṇa. And in order to approach them and get their mercy, we need the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. In order to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, we need to get the mercy of Lord Nityānanda, as this particular purport, and Narottam Das Thakur saying in the purport, quoting, Srila Prabhupada's quoting Narottam Das Thakur, in order to get the mercy of Nityānanda, Srila Prabhupada said that we should approach people like Jaga and Madai, so these two sinful brothers. Which you could say, well, who's Jaga and Madai? You could just think of the people of the world, the lost people of the world. So it means lost people. It means completely oblivious, or completely oblivious of Krishna consciousness, or complete ignorance. So there's no shortage. Just go around Pacific Beach. There's plenty of people here. You could actually spend your whole life knocking on the doors of Pacific Beach and going on the streets of Pacific Beach and trying to, because there's always people because there's a college crowd, they come and they join the Pacific Beach Circus, and then they get a little older, then they move to they move to El Cajon or to La Mesa or to Forest Ranch or something, North PB, to get out of the madness. And then you get a whole nother group coming. So you could actually spend your whole life just trying to deliver the people of Pacific Beach. And the devotees are going to college today, so that's nice. Who's it? Vijay Prabhu and Vijay Money? All right. Mesa College. So if we do that, in other words, if we try to help in the mission of Lord Chaitanya, then we will get the mercy. And but of course, there's two things going on. We have our own spiritual practices of chanting and so on, and then simultaneously, or there's two tracks going on. And as Prabhupada says at the end of the purport, we must conquer the enemies of Krishna consciousness with the strength received from Balarāma. So does anybody have any question? All right, Joseph.
Morning. You speak of the polished animals. There's different degrees of polished animals. I guess I'm partially polished, so I don't know.
You chanted Hare Krishna, so you're not. You're a devotee, right? Okay.
I have a question.
Okay. Sure.
May I?
Yes.
Yes, Balaram Prabhu. You know better than me that in the spiritual world, Balarāma is categorized as one of the expansions of Lord Krishna, and he appears as his older brother. But what confuses me is that, being Krishna God, shouldn't Balarāma, because he appears as his brother, as Krishna's brother, shouldn't we expect for Balarāma to appear as Krishna's younger brother? Because after all, Krishna is God.
Yeah.
That is my question.
Okay. Well, I mean, Krishna also, like in Krishna Lila, or in the pastimes of Krishna, there's all different types of devotees, like, for example, Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, and of course, you have something about this, Vijay, Prabhu? And so yeah, this is all, I mean, there's also what, that Krishna's, we're all eternal, so there's no point of creation, right? That's the philosophy, right? Anyone want to say yes or no? Is that the philosophy? Yes. So yeah, but these are just, you know, for pastimes. Like, yes.
In Ram Lila, Lord Ramachandra asked Lakshman, because there was that whole difficulty there. Sita was taken, and then they retrieved her, but to test her chastity, Ram told Lakshman to put her in the fire, Sita in the fire. And he was so devoted to Ram that he did it. But then he said, in our next incarnation, I'm going to be the older brother. Yeah. You're going to be the younger, so I don't have to do things like this.
Yeah.
So that's why he became the older brother.
Why is he questioning Krishna as God? Then he should be the older or superior brother. Well, then why don't you ask about how does he have a mother who chases him with a stick and the Damodar Leela? I mean, how do you have him surrendering his flute and his crown before Radharani, and Lalita and Vishaka and Radharani are discussing, should we forgive him or not? It is the whole mood of Vrindavan that Krishna becomes the plaything of his devotees. In fact, it's one of the four elements that distinguish Krishna from Narayan or Vishnu, that he has childhood pastimes and devotees who think, oh, what kind of big man are you? You know, I'm going to ride on your shoulder. I'm going to defeat you in wrestling and ride on your shoulders. So that's the whole mood of Vrindavan, the highest of rasas.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I try to superimpose our material conceptions onto transcendence. Exactly right. Is that the whole thing is, well, what will please Krishna most? In this case, and I read this morning, he's glorifying Balarāma. It's like a little game he's playing. You know, Krishna's everybody's glorifying him. You are the most supreme. You're the supreme personality.
The original supreme person.
The original. So especially in Goloka, all these considerations are out the window, because Krishna, as Maharaj was saying, he enjoys enormously being chastised by Mother Yashoda and by Lalita and by others. So that's so in this particular case, he enjoys Balarāma as his older brother in so many ways. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'll just say something about how about you read it, Javita Prabhu? What is that? It's chapter 67, the summary of the 10th canto. Because the summary just, gives summary of the particular pastime, and we have a little time. Can you put the mic?
This chapter describes how Lord Baladev enjoyed the company of the young girls of Vraje on Raivataka mountain and killed the ape Dravida there. That's been adjusted. They're not from Vraje. They're from the young girls in Dwarka. Narakasura, a demon whom Lord Krishna killed, had a friend named Dvivida, an ape. Dvivida wanted to avenge the death of his friend, so he set fire to the homes of the cowherds, devastated Lord Krishna's province of Anarta, and flooded coastal lands by churning the ocean's water with his mighty arms. The rascal then tore down the trees in the ashrams of great sages, and even passed stool and urine on their sacrificial fires. He kidnapped men and women and imprisoned them in mountain caves, which he sealed off with boulders. After thus disrupting the entire land and polluting many young women of respectable families, Dravida came upon Raivataka mountain, where he found Lord Baladev enjoying in the company of a bevy of attractive women. Ignoring Lord Baladev, who was apparently intoxicated from drinking Varuni liquor, Dravida displayed his anus to the women right in front of the Lord, and further insulted them by making crude gestures with his eyebrows and passing stool and urine. Dvavida's outrageous behavior angered Lord Baladev, and he threw a stone at the ape. But Dvivida managed to dodge it. He then ridiculed Lord Baladev and tugged at the women's dresses. Seeing this audacity, Lord Baladev decided to kill Dvivida. Thus he took up his club and his plow weapon. Powerful Dvivida then armed himself by pulling up a shala tree from the ground, and with this tree he struck the Lord on the head. Lord Baladev, however, remained unmoved and smashed the tree trunk to pieces. Dravida uprooted another tree, and yet another, and another, until the forest was denuded. But although he struck Baladev on the head with one tree after another, the Lord simply broke all the trees to pieces. Then the foolish ape started throwing a barrage of stones. Lord Baladev crushed them all to powder, after which Dravida charged the Lord and hit him on...
This is the origin of American baseball.
Yeah, I know. Then the foolish ape started throwing... After which Dravida charged the Lord and hit him on the chest with his fists, infuriating him. Putting aside his club and plow weapons, Lord Balarāma then struck Dravida's throat and shoulder, at which point the ape vomited blood and fell down dead. Having killed Dravida, Lord Baladev set off for Dwarka as demigods and sages showered flowers from the sky and offered him praises, prayers, and obeisances. Baladev ki jai.
See, in text 2 of this chapter, 67, in the purport, it says, the verse first, Srila Shukadeva Goswami said there was an ape named Dvivida who was a friend of Narakasura's. This powerful Dvivida, the brother of Mandya, had been instructed by King Sugriva. Purport, Srila Jiva Goswami points out some interesting facts about the ape Dvivida. Although Dvivida was an associate of Lord Ramchandra's, he later became corrupted by bad association with the demon Naraka, as stated here, Narakasya Sakha. This bad association was the reaction for an offense Dvivida had committed when, being proud of his strength, he disrespected Lord Ramchandra's brother, Lakshman, and others. Those who worship Lord Ramchandra sometimes chant hymns addressed to Mandya and Dvivida, who are attendant deities of the Lord. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the Mandya and Dvivida mentioned in this verse are empowered expansions of these deities, who are residents of Lord Ramchandra's Vaikuntha domain. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Ṭhākura concurs with Srila Jiva Goswami's view that Dvivida was ruined by bad association, which was a punishment for having disrespected Sriman Lakshman. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Ṭhākura states, however, that the Mandya and Dvivida mentioned here are actually the eternally liberated devotees addressed as attendant deities during the worship of Lord Ramchandra. The Lord arranged their degradation, he says, to show the evil of the bad association that results from offending great personalities. Thus, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Ṭhākura compares the fall of Dvivida and Mandya to that of Jai and Vijay.
What's interesting is that Narakasura was the son of Varaha and Bhumi. He got bad association. So then he became a demon, and then he turned Dvivida into demoniac. Yeah.
So be careful.
Yeah,
The Bhagavatam is full of cautionary tales. what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. So, and he became, I mean, it's terrible, right? He became a real terrible guy. So, yeah, killed with Balarāma. So therefore we always stress, right, sadhu sangha, sarva shastra koi, lava matu sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. Just by a moment's association, it's like what, 1/11th? 11-second association. That's the one. So, and we want to.
That's the measurement. Vedic time goes all the way from measuring one breath of Mahavishnu, all the way down to the time it takes the sun to cross over one hexagon, which is that's what the 11th of a second is.
So it's a very powerful association. So we want to associate, and so on this day we could pray, or we should pray to Lord Balarāma. We have Baladev here. We have Nityānanda Prabhu here. We could pray for spiritual strength, so we could follow. Yeah, Baladev and Lord Baladev, Balarāma, and Nityānanda Prabhu. So we could follow and practice and have the strength to engage in Krishna consciousness and spread Krishna consciousness as much as possible for the pleasure of Lord Balarāma and his representatives, the spiritual masters. Okay, Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.